Hey, you. Welcome back. My name's Jack, the snack that smiles back. You must be here to find out who the a-holes are today. Well, I'll provide the stories, you provide the... everything else, and let's get started. God, it's beautiful, but it's so hot. Just like you. Now, it is just 2 stories in this video for you today, as there was just so much insight offered in the comments to discuss and read on about. Regardless, I hope you enjoy. This story by the letter I. Yes, he did survive the Pixar logo. Am I the a-hole for getting upset that my girlfriend is so close to her male friend? This has a sort of 2-parter or update to it, so I'll get to that in a second. She has a male friend that is very close to her. He used to be trying to get her before her and I started dating. He was upset at first, but now seems to be less upset. They text constantly. I used to be super close with him. We were like the best of friends, but he's super toxic, and I had to distance myself from him. Still, my girlfriend is very caring and still wanted to be friends with him. His mental health is terrible and has stuff to figure out, but she frequently goes out of her way to make him feel better. Once, at about 1 a.m., she inexplicably ran over to his house because he needed her. She buys him dinner frequently too. She got angry at me one day for unrelated reasons and was crying later that night. So, at midnight, he drove over and picked her up and bought her dinner until 5 in the morning. I've been getting very upset for quite some time about how close they are, and I'm confident that she would be faithful, but it's more than that. Who needs to change? Comments! Nata, I find it reasonable to believe she's already cheating. Brace for impact and prepare to bail. She's not that kind of person and already turned him down. Nata, it's a very normal reaction to be jealous, especially with how close it seems they are. If I can put your mind at ease, if she was interested in him, she would have started dating him when she was free, if she had any romantic interest, instead of dating someone else. That being said, be honest with her about how you're feeling, and try to see how she'd feel if you got upset and ran off with a female friend until 5 in the morning. I'd drop that friend if you can, and try to get her to as well. Honestly, it seems like he's still in love with her and trying to swoop in for a chance to get with her. I like this. In some cases, doing a bit of whataboutism actually works for making your point clear. Though I don't think it will be healthy to try and get her to lose him as a friend. I think that's something she should have the freedom to choose to do herself. As for who needs to change, both of you, I can understand where you're coming from, but have a little more faith in your girlfriend. As for your girlfriend, you gotta be honest and tell her how this is making you feel. Nita! Your girl is emotionally cheating on you, my dude. Thank you! Emotional cheating is devastating. That dude came over at 1 a.m. to cheer up your girl by picking her up and driving off somewhere until 5 a.m.? Hell no! That's red flags if I ever seen one. She is for sure emotionally cheating, and I guarantee they will hook up once y'all break up. It's not if y'all break up, but when and who initiates it first. If y'all talk about this and tell her your legit concerns, she will assume you are controlling, being toxic, and wrong. She will then run to him to cry on his shoulder, and then y'all get even closer. Yo, update us on this, cause been there, done that. Good luck. You will need it. He does seem hesitant to believe this, though. At what point is it emotionally cheating? She's allowed to have friends. Where are the boundaries? She is allowed to have friends, for sure. You would have to Google the exact definition of what is emotional cheating to you and how you define it. But essentially, if they are doing boyfriend-girlfriend stuff together, if he picks her up at midnight and brings her back at 5 a.m., if she drops everything to go be with him, and especially if she values his health, well-being, and emotional feelings above yours, then it is emotional cheating. And boundaries? Y'all would have to discuss that together. Essentially, having boundaries isn't sexist or controlling at all, and don't back down if someone says otherwise. You ever truly fall for a woman in high school or in college where y'all started off as pure friends? Like y'all were homies who spent countless hours together just doing dumb stuff while caring for each other. You became happy when y'all saw them? Well, imagine your girl feeling that way with that guy. Feelings can develop, and it looks like it has. Also, that guy still likes her, man. If a woman truly takes care of you and is there for you always, why wouldn't you fall for her? It's true, ladies, if you know that guy had a really good mother growing up, you frickin' treat him like a little pampered boy and he will love you. It's not really healthy to do, but, you know, if you're that desperate. Interesting predicament. I'd argue that she just wants to do what's best for everyone around her. Her close guy friends are effectively brothers to her, and it makes sense that she'd confide in them when she's upset. That being said, you definitely have a reason to be upset yourself. I'm going to go with nah. I'd seriously recommend you have a serious chat with her about boundaries, and remind her that you need to be kept in the loop about what's going on, to prevent further problems. Good luck! Now he sort of updated or added extra info here. Due to space limits, I'm going to add on to it. I understand the type of guy that he is very well, and that makes me more uncomfortable than anything else. He's very lonely and isn't very healthy mentally. He's got some new girl every other week that he's trying to get with. I am basically certain that if my girlfriend were to flirt with him or make a move, he would reciprocate, despite my concerns he may have shown about us being in a relationship. I trust that my girlfriend is very faithful, but of course there's that teeny nagging voice that makes it feel like it could be possible that it's been fraudulent all along. She's very kind to all of her friends and feels the need to help everyone out when they are hurt, and he hurts a lot, mostly for self-inflicted reasons, but for plenty of other factors too. She wants to help him out, but he's the kind of person that can just drain you and use you before you even realize it, and I know how angry she would be if I confronted her about it. She would tell me that she's just a friend, that he needs somebody to help him because he doesn't really have anybody. I can tell already how upset she would be. But I was always taught to avoid even situations that look like it could maybe possibly be remotely close to cheating, and she spends an awful lot of time texting someone and buying him dinner by herself, spending hours with him when he used to want to get with her. I think that's not good, and I know I won't be able to prove to her how toxic he is because of how highly she already thinks of him and likes having him around. But I'm sure that if she were to try anything with him, he would reciprocate because that's the kind of guy he is. Sounds like your girlfriend is very sympathetic or even empathetic by nature. She sees someone who needs help and guidance and sort of a supportive figure. And I think that's where she finds fulfillment in still being his friend and having him around in her life. Maybe even slight guilt from rejecting him the first time, and notices how terrible his life is regarding his mental health. She may be just trying to help him figure himself out and be that guidance and support when he needs it. Hopefully making him realize that he doesn't need a girlfriend in his life for his life to be better. He just needs a friend. These are the thoughts she will say to justify herself. And honestly, this guy has not gotten over her. He is simping for her so bad. He is doing whatever he can to try and undermine you. Maybe not intentionally, but I can guarantee him racing over to your place to pick her up until 5 a.m. in the morning was definitely him hoping that at some point he'd at least get a cuddle and maybe an affectionate kiss on the forehead. Either she's extremely ignorant and oblivious, maybe at worst in denial, but she'd definitely be aware of it. My other theory is that maybe she's taking advantage of it because she likes the attention. Maybe a fallback guy in case you don't work out. Either way, you are absolutely valid to be feeling uncomfortable about this. Honestly, it seems like she's just dating you for the status and the good looks, and dating him for the emotional support that comes from a partner. Again, she's either ignorant of this behavior or she's taking advantage of you. After all, how do you accuse someone of being unfaithful and not connecting in the relationship when they're just hanging out with a good friend who talks to them and understands them? Emotional cheating is a thing, guys. People don't need to be physical with each other to prove they're not monkey branching. People will acknowledge that a good relationship requires physical and emotional attraction. But bat away the idea emotional cheating exists. I won't go into details about my experience with those kind of people, but trust me, it exists. And it's always the gateway to physical cheating. Just quick, if you are enjoying today's content, I'd absolutely love it if you could subscribe or even just like the video. It's absolutely free, and if you ever get bored, you can just unsubscribe. So, anyway, back to the content. This story by The Real Reaps. Am I the a-hole for not caring about how my brother will be cared for when my parents are gone? Maybe. Let's see if I can get this across as succinctly as possible. My 35 male brother, 39 male, has Aspergers syndrome. If you've met him, you would pretty much just think he's socially inept. He still lives at home with my very aging parents, dad 80 and mum 70, and he has basically never worked, just plays video games and sleeps. Being 4 years older than me, he graduated and started university while I was still in school. Mum always said I should follow in his footsteps. He was very smart back then and had a lot of potential. When I finished school, I decided not to follow in his footsteps, and I took a year off school and just had fun. After a year, I found work, which my mother said was a nothing job, forklift driver, and I moved out of home for a few different reasons. She said I would never amount to anything, and that my brother's certifications were the only way to get ahead. 15 years later, and I moved up through the company in various roles, and now have a great job that pays well, and I can work from home nearly permanently. I have a house, wife, and 2 amazing children, and I am proud of it all. My brother has literally nothing, and it's because my mother mollycoddles him because of his Aspergers. Now, the issue is that eventually my parents will go. My dad dislikes the fact that my brother has bludged his way through life, and Dad has made comments about what my brother will do when they are gone. I think my mum is ignorant to the fact that one day he won't have them anymore, and maybe I will look after him. Here's the thing. I'm not going to look after him. My entire philosophy is that he has made his bed and that he is going to sleep in it. My in-laws and my wife think, yeah, right, you were stuck with him once he has no parents to look after him, so they kind of think I'm an a-hole for being so cold. I worked my goddamn butt off to get where I'm here today. Literally getting up at 3:30 a.m. every day for 15 years just so I could build what I have now. And he has literally played video games every night and slept every day for longer than that. TLDR. Older brother has not worked a day in his life, over 2 decades after leaving school, just played games and slept. I have worked my butt off to get where I am today. He still lives with older parents who will be gone at some point in the future, and at that point I will not be looking after him. Am I the a-hole for cutting him out of my life like that? Edit. I should have added this but forgot. He also has OCD and washes his hands constantly throughout the day. It doesn't make sense to me because his room and computer area are absolute neckbeard nests. Okay. Why did you need to add that edit though? That didn't justify anything but for you to try and justify why you find him disgusting and pathetic. I get you probably had a childhood where your mother favored the older son over you, and I feel like this is sort of your way to punish your mother for mistreating you so. But that's the thing, this seems to be more so between your mother and you, not your brother. Though I also still understand that you don't want to take care of him. But let's see what some other people have said, because they'll probably say what I'm already thinking. Nata, you have no obligations here. However, the responsible thing would to be very clear to your parents that they need to make plans for your brother's care after they pass because you will not. Then it's up to them to be proactive. From the way you describe him, your brother has no intellectual disabilities or anything that would keep him from working or caring for himself. Is that correct? If so, he doesn't need care plans. He isn't under a guardianship. He won't qualify for a care facility or group home. There are no plans for you to make. They will probably leave everything to him, so don't expect an inheritance. He will get their house and any cash and then be on his own. OP's responded, he has no intellectual disabilities whatsoever. He's one of the smartest people I know, and I always admired that growing up. It's just he never put it to use. Yeah, that was my only real defense for why you should care for him. The fact he has no actual disabilities aside from Aspergers, yeah, his life is his life now. You hold no responsibility for fixing what he's done to himself. You're welcome to offer it nonetheless, but it's pretty clear you don't want to. My wife also thinks that my parents will leave him everything, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. On one hand, I don't need their help. I have made my life off my own back and struggled every bit of the way there. On the other hand, it would be a huge relief and opportunity for me to be financially free, i.e. no mortgage, earlier in life, and who can cough at that? World's Worst Warlock has some receipts for their arguments though. Only about 15 to 20% of college-graduated autistic people are employed. If your brother has sought out employment after uni, he likely has faced discrimination or disability complications that prevents him from gainful employment. This is frightfully common for us. There are undoubtedly ways in which your brother has made his own bed, and where his situation is both his fault and your parents' fault. However, his employment issues might be down to more than just laziness and mollycoddling. Considering he was disciplined enough to graduate college and continue into university, I'm inclined to believe laziness and parental enabling is not the sole issue. That is a very good point. This laziness clearly didn't develop until after getting out of college. It might be possible he's procrastinating on a career because he's afraid and has tried and failed and thinks he's just gonna fail all the time. It's why many people usually resort to playing video games a lot. Video games are designed to reward you, to make you feel like you're achieving something. Nata, you're not in any way responsible for your brother's care. He is your brother, not your child. However, I'd strongly urge you to reconsider just how strongly you judge his life circumstances and how much you ascribe them based on his merit, especially if you yourself do not have any neurodevelopmental disabilities. The OP does join this conversation of what World's Worst Warlock is saying. It goes on for a bit, but I feel like it's something you'd really want to listen to if you're interested in understanding mental health or those around you who do have mental issues. If his OCD is to the point where he's washing his hands to the exclusion of meaningful activity, then he is disabled by his OCD and needs support and treatment. He might get to a point where he can manage his conditions enough to work, or he might not. But right now, he's obviously not in a state where he can seek or maintain employment. You can obviously not tolerate that as much as you'd like. It's a free world, and you're entitled to all of your feelings. But it's sort of like getting mad at a BTK amputee for not entering a race before they're fitted with an athletic prosthetic and undergone physical therapy. Basically trying to get him to run before he's even learned to walk. It's very common for autistic people to burn out after functional demands exceed our ability to mask our autistic coping mechanisms or communications. Stimming, echolalia, talking about special interests for 3 hours straight to decompress, etc. And continue to cope without support while trying to appear halfway neurotypical. Reminds me of what can often happen when you try to combat your anxiety for too long, or other things that might affect you negatively in a social setting. After a while, it just gets exhausting. You just want to go home and sit on your bed and watch YouTube. If someone does not receive a diagnosis in childhood like I did, they're often diagnosed during or after this burnout period. Your brother probably burned out in uni and has been recovering since then. If you read accounts by other autistic adults, they'll often talk about burnout lasting for years and the uphill battle to pull out of it, and the constant monitoring they must do afterwards to balance masking and burnout. Some never recover, and contributes to the 9 times higher suicide rates that plagues autistic people. You're right, it's not sustainable. OP says, I guess it's because he wasn't like this for half his life. Sure, he had his quirks and social issues, but the OCD grew worse once he got out of school. I'm not saying he is faking it, and I do believe he has issues. I just can't sustain that in my life. I can see you're quite knowledgeable in the subject, and I truly appreciate your thoughts here. Many autistic people are able to mask our symptoms until functional demands exceed our ability to meet them. It's very common for people to go undiagnosed or have a diagnosis but not be disabled, and then become more autistic or even disabled later in life when we aren't able to cope with both our autistic and comorbid symptoms and outside demands. OCD is a comorbid condition to autism. So it's very likely that if your brother is already unable to function normally, i.e. maintain employment post-uni, he's less able to stymie his obsessive thoughts or compulsive behavior than he would have been able to when he was coping just fine in school. The result? Appearing normal when he's in the structured environment of academia, and then taking a sharp decline in functioning as soon as he's thrown out into the chaotic world of post-grad employment. Again, you're under no obligation to tend to your brother, and if I'm being honest, you shouldn't tend to your brother. But you might benefit from learning about his conditions and how that affects his life. Autism and similar neurotypes run in families, so it helps to have a wide knowledge base in case you or your children are diagnosed later. Broad autism phenotype is common, but not universal among family members to autisms or Aspergers peoples, so you might even find some useful tips and tricks for navigating your own life without being on the spectrum. How's your brain doing? Bit overloaded? Didn't expect to be learning stuff after school, did ya? Hello. That does us for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you're looking at my face right now, that means you liked this video. So all I appreciate is if you would like the video back, because if you like it, then I'll like you for liking the video, and then I can make more stuff for you to like that you can like, and it'll be just a constant cycle of never-ending pain and suffering. So don't do it alone, suffer with me. I don't know where I was going with that. If you haven't subscribed but you want to see some more content, then please, what are you waiting for? Click that notification bell so you're always updated on the latest content. And hey, why not check out some other videos while you're here? But anyway, that does me for today. Thank you again for watching. You're an amazing person. I love rambling at you, and I look forward to you staring at me beyond the abyss again soon. I can't close well. Don't at me, okay? My name's Jack. Bye-bye. You're amazing. See ya!